Nuit, Hadit, Ra-Hoor-Khuit, Ra-Hoor-Khuit, and Ankaf and Kansu. Now, the gods of Thelema, that's what we're going to talk about today, are more cosmological in nature and less religious, I guess. They're universal principles. The goddess Nuit, let's just discuss her for a second, is shown, at least on the wonderful Stele of Revealing, as the star goddess. A very popular image in Egyptian iconography. When you're laying in your tomb and they put the lid over your tomb, the goddess Nuit's body is over you. It's on the underside of the lid that you gaze at the stars for eternity. Ra-Hoor-Khuit, Hadit, is a little less obvious. You could say that Ra, he's the sun god Ra, and he's the sun god's son, Horus, and the Khuit is a universal principle within ourselves that is the exact portion of the deity that we have within ourselves. But in Thelemic iconography and the Thelemic Pantheon, he's symbolized in the Stele as that winged solar disk at the heart of Nuit. Now their sun, just like Isis and Osiris, their son is Horus. That's the god enthroned here. And the worshipper is Ankaf and Kansu, the priest of the princes. And Crowley saw himself as the incarnation of that. Now I'm just going to show you that right now so we don't have to keep constantly referring back to it. Incidentally, this book was one of the first ones I did with Weiser, The Magic of Aleister Crowley. That was first printed many years ago, 1991 or 93, I think. It looked like this back then. Weiser has created a series of classics of magic, which will contain actually famous old magic books from traditional magic books, but Magic of Thelema and Magic of Aleister Crowley has been chosen to be reprinted and republished in the Classics of Magic series, which I'm very, very proud to announce. But anyway, I'm going to say a few words right out of this book. It's in the chapter concerning the Thelemic rituals of the pentagram, but it's just a little portion of that. Talking about the Thelemic holy words and divine names. Now, they're just names, okay? They're just words, okay? That in any other context or in any other religious context, these same principles have other names. The Hindus have names for these. The Buddhists have names for these. The Christians, the Jews, The Muslims, they all have names for these same principles that are different than these. So don't think Crowley just invented gravity. He just has a Thelemic name for it, okay? So, to fathom transcendental concepts, one must possess transcendental illumination. Consequently, the holy words and divine names of the Thelemic Pantheon defy adequate literary definition. As a magician's initiatory career evolves, so too will his or her capacity to understand and exploit the divine principles represented by the words. I do not presume to offer, nor am I capable of establishing orthodox definitions to these terms. I've even been contacted by those whose opinions I highly respect that anything I say on the matter will be pitifully inadequate and will ultimately serve only to limit the reader's understanding. While I wholeheartedly agree this is true, I'm also convinced that the reader, if warned that these notes that follow are flawed and incomplete and inaccurate thoughts of one who has not yet achieved any significant level of illumination, he or she may nonetheless appreciate a starting point for further study and meditation. Let's start with Nuit. The first deity of the Thelemic Trinity, traditionally the Egyptian star goddess of the night sky. She is the, quote, star goddess who is the category of unlimited possibility. And I'm quoting from Crowley's Book of Thoth. Upon the Stele of revealing, and in Egyptian art, she's depicted as an azure goddess, tall and slender, arching over the earth, similar in appearance to the Greek letter omega. Just to remind you, she's a Greek omega. She's conceptualized as the infinity of an ultimately expanded universe, the circumference of a circle. All things, therefore, are contained within her body. Kabbalists may wish to consider the similarities to the second veil of the negative preceding Kether, Ein Sof, or no limit. But that's just something to toy with, okay? Hadit, the second deity of the Thelemic Trinity, lover of Nuit. He is depicted on the stele as the winged globe at the heart of Nuit. He is conceptualized as the infinity of an ultimately contracted universe. The point in the center of the circle. He is, quote, the ubiquitous point of view, the only philosophically tenable conception of reality. Perhaps, unquote, perhaps the concept of the pre-Big Bang negative singularity postulated by modern physics. Kabbalists may wish to consider the similarities between the first veil of the negative preceding Kether, Ain, or nothing. So it'd be like Ein Sof. Super nothings. Ra-Hoor-Khuit. And for Nuit, you would see chapter 1 of the Book of the Law. For Hadit, you'd see chapter 2 of the Book of the Law. And for chapter 3, or for Ra-Hoor-Khuit, you'd see chapter 3 of the Book of the Law. The third deity of the Thelemic Trinity, the crowned and conquering child of the union of Hadit and Nuit. As Nuit's expansion and Hadit's contraction are both infinite, so too must their points of contact. This intimate contact creates the basis of possible vibration. Their child, Horus. The field of operation in which the universe can manifest. He is, however, this is Crowley's quote, he is, however, known under his special name, Heru-Ra-Ha, a double god. His extroverted form is Ra-Hoor-Khuit, and his passive or introverted form is Hur-Par-Krat. Spelling variations found in the Liber Alvel Legis include Ra-Hoor-Khuit, Ra-Hoor-Khu, and are indicative of important facets of the deity. Kabbalists may wish to consider the similarities to the third veil of the negative preceding Kether, Ein Sof Or limitless light. Also Kether itself. In one respect, he is the fundamental archetype of the God-man and the holy guardian angel. Ra-Hoor-Khuit. Okay, other words that we'll be using in Thelemic pentagram rituals and part of the Thelemic Pantheon are Therion and Babalon. So see Liber Alvel Legis, especially references to the beast and the scarlet woman. It's clear that from an early age, Crowley was spiritually and psychologically traumatized as a result of his family's fanatical embrace of Christian fundamentalism. It was perhaps inevitable that an individual of Crowley's genius would eventually rebel against the stifling restrictions and the threats of eternal torment with which such cults terrorize their members. His childhood identification with the Beast 666 and his devil be my God bravado was his useful declaration of independence, and for the rest of his life he would continue to enjoy shocking the shockable with such sacrileges. We must point out, however, that there are profound magical and Kabbalistic significance to these blasphemies that Crowley so cavalierly embraced in his youth. And these immeasurably overshadow his mischievous preoccupation with thumbing his nose at Christianity. The use of the names Therion, Greek for beast, and Babalon, the scarlet woman or great whore, is not unique in the annals of religious nomenclature. Together they make their first and most notoriously misunderstood appearance in the book of the Revelation of John, the finale of the New Testament. A superficial review of this book presents us with what appears at first glance to be two shady, if not downright evil, characters. But looks can be deceiving. And as is often the case with books of the Bible, the villain of the exoteric story is frequently revealed to be the hero of the esoteric interpretations. There's no need to enter into an argument as to whether the beast refers to the man, Aleister Crowley, or to the office of the beast, or to some universal principle. At one time or another before his death, Crowley wrote that they were all of the above. For our purposes, we will simply attempt to introduce the concepts by drawing parallels to ideas with which the reader may already be acquainted. Therion, Babalon, as Hokma and Bina. To the student of the Kabbalah, the easiest way to begin to understand Therion and Babalon is to conceptualize them as personifications of the second and third Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, Hokma and Bina, respectively. The second Sephiroth, Hokma, represents the original concept of duality, and as such is the chaotic despoiler of the perfect unity of the first Sephiroth, Kether. Chaos is another title for Hokma. And in certain Thelemic ritual is identified with Therion. Hokma is also the divine will, the logos, the word whose vibration is the creative essence of the universe. As a supernal father, Hokma, Therion, is the archetype of the lingam, the universal male. To Mega Therion, his motto is Magus, or 9 equals 2, Crowley is considered by Thelemites to be the logos of the Aeon of Horus. Now, more accurately, I would say Therion is the logos of the Aeon. Because when I say Crowley, we get it mixed up with the man Crowley, who had many manly shortcomings, as do we all, or human shortcomings. The third Sephiroth, Bina, represents the original reconciliation and balance of the divine self, Kether, and the reflected, not self, Hokma. She is viewed as the all-receptive mate of Hokma, and when they are united, the primal unity of Kether is realized. As Bina, Babalon, resides just above the abyss, she eventually receives unto herself the totality of the life of the evolving universe. This universal life is symbolized as the blood of the saints, which she gathers up into her great cup, the Holy Grail. This she shares with the beast, and they unite in drunken ecstasy. She is called the Great Whore, for in her shamelessness, unquote, she receives all and refuses none. Now let's talk about Therion and Babalon as Shiva and Shakti. To the student of yoga or tantric Buddhism, the easiest way to think about Therion and Babalon is to conceptualize them as the two polar streams of creation. Shiva, the divine will, the logos, who manifests in creative union with his divine consort, Shakti, the divine power and the underlying and secret force permeating all creation. Babalon, Shakti, is the passive negative stream of nature. She is magnetic and attracts to herself the potentiality of energy. This she absorbs and stores up, the Holy Grail, the cup of Babalon. When the negative or feminine Shakti comes into proper contact with the positive masculine Shiva, the dynamic reaction occurs, or a dynamic action occurs, triggering the transcendence of their individual polarity, transforming them both into Brahma, the changeless one, or the changeless one. This is the most important aspect of Therion and Babalon because it relates to natural energies and forces residing in our own bodies. Uh-oh. I've said too much. The Great White Brotherhood is calling to chastise me. Let's see who it is.
Lon and Constance, please leave a message with your name and phone number, and we'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
It's a robocall.
This message is a legal notification intended for Carol Mason. Our offices are making another attempt today to contact you regarding the pending case filed against your name and social security number. This is a time-sensitive legal matter that will
That's a
require
real
immediate
scam.
attention from yourself or your retained attorney. Please contact our offices today at 844-404-9293, or you may press 1 now to be connected to a representative.
Okay. Slumbering in the form of a coiled serpent at the base of the human spine is the Kundalini, a remnant of the universal Shakti. She's been separated and exiled from her lord Shiva, who resides in the human skull, by the very process of creation. The task of the Kundalini yogi is to awaken this sleeping goddess and direct her ascent up the spine to eventual union with her lord in the cranium. But one does not have to be a yogi or a Kabbalist or a ceremonial magician to achieve transcendental states of consciousness in the ecstasy of lovemaking, or to temporarily annihilate the ego in orgasm. These are fundamental male-female realities of existence and consciousness, and are an integral part of the cosmos, from the lowest hell to the highest heaven. More on this in Chapter 6. Iwas. That's another Thelemic name. Alternate spelling Iwas. The minister of Ra-Hoor-Khuit, praetor-human intelligence, who dictated the 3 chapters of Liber Vel Leges. Iwas is considered messenger of the gods of the Aeon of Horus. Crowley would eventually identify Iwas as his own holy guardian angel. I was told by both Israel Regardie and Grady McMurtry that Crowley acknowledged Iwas in the Kabbalistic cross portion of the pentagram rituals as follows. Touching the forehead, said Hata. Touching the heart, and say Iwas. Then touching the genitals and say Malkuth, Vikibura, Vikidula, etc. Okay. Pan. Greek for all. Originally the lusty and mischievous rustic god of Thracian shepherds. His audacious and colorful personality captured the imagination of the entire Hellenistic world and established for Pan a permanent place in Greek mythology. Pan is, however, more than a playful imp. Even in the ancient myths, one can see an underlying profundity in his escapades that hint that Pan may be a deity of far greater order than his Olympian contemporaries. His name suggests that he is the great all. the God who transcends the gods. The comedy of Pan is a singular reality of life itself. Oh, damn them. That's not in the book. That's my telephone digression. For those of us who have not yet achieved the level of illumination necessary,
Lon and Constance, please leave a message.
I'm going to wait
with
again.
your name.
I waited for the first one.
And we'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Are you getting a lot of robocalls lately too? We have a landline, and we're going to keep a landline. But it seems particularly bad for those of us with landlines. Okay, I'm almost through with this. For those of us who have not yet achieved the levels of illumination necessary to perceive this greater reality of Pan, life is a dizzying mixture of pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow. Finding one's true will is the key to embracing, then transcending these dualities and becoming an ecstatic and enthusiastic player in the great comedy of Pan. Pan, spelled I-O-P-A-N. Pan is the traditional invocation of Pan. I, the lingam, joined with O, the yoni. Eo. 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 Do I have to draw you a picture? Pan is the traditional invocation of Pan. It's a simple yet explicit invitation for the God who transcends duality to couple with the devotee. Onkofen Khonsu is the next word. Egyptian priest of the 25th dynasty. The Stele of Revealing is a funeral tablet of Onkofen Khonsu, who reportedly painted it himself upon stuccoed wood. He is depicted in the stele as standing at the table of offerings before the god Ra-Hoor-Khuit. Crowley claimed that as Onkofen Khonsu, in a previous incarnation, he was responsible for initiating the Aeon of Horus, or of Osiris. There's Onkofen Khonsu, and that table there is the table of offering. The word Lashtal, and I refer us to my notes in another chapter. I'm not going to go to that at the moment. And Agape, which is love in Greek, which also adds to 93. The word Aumgn, spelled A-U-M-G-N. The Thelemic expansion of Om, or Aum, the creative vibration that sustains the universe. By replacing M with the compound letters MGN, again 93, Crowley felt the word more accurately represents the true process of the cycle of the universe. On one of our first dates, I took Constance north of Columbus, Nebraska, to the dam and the powerhouse, hydroelectric powerhouse. And it was built in the 30s, and it looked like a temple. There was like marble floors. It was gorgeous, gorgeous sort of Art Deco-y style place. And it had these 3 generators, hydroelectric generators, in the floor, and you could walk up in sort of a gallery and looked down at the, and you could hear them hum, and and they had a harmonic to them, and they just didn't go. They went. They went aum. Well, was that worth sitting through the 2 phone calls? Okay. Viaov, spelled V-I-A-O-V. Thelemic expansion of the word Iao, spelled Vav Yod Aleph Oyin Vav in Hebrew. And Viaov in Greek also adds to 93. Okay, Crowley considered it to be a proper hieroglyph of the ritual of self-initiation. Abrahadabra, the great magic word of the Aeon of Horus. Volumes of commentaries could be written on this word alone, and so I will not project even the pretense of a thoroughness in my comments. References to Abrahadabra are found throughout Crowley's works, but the reader is especially encouraged to study an essay upon numbers found in 777. Briefly, its 11 letters, 5 identical and 6 diverse, are illustrative of the great work accomplished. It joins that which is above with that which is below, the microcosmic world of 5 to the macrocosmic world of 6. It enumerates to 418, the same as the Hebrew letter Chet, spelled in full. The path of Chet crosses the abyss, joining the 5th Sephirah, Geburah, with the 3rd Sephirah, Bina, the abode of Babylon. The tarot card attributed to Chet is the charioteer who bears the Holy Grail across the abyss, where it becomes the cup of Babylon. There are other names and words unique to Thelemic magic, which we will discuss in a later chapter. As explained earlier, these are not orthodox or even adequate definitions. Well, we've had a bumpy ride this morning, and I wouldn't blame you if you just turned this one off and said, Lon's just too crazy today. Be that as it may, I'm going to try to be here tomorrow for you too. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love's the law. Love under will.